Welcome back. If it has joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria records 5 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total to 70 as the federal government issues fresh guidelines for international maritime operations, restricting entry of vessels until sailors are tested. Lagos State government announces stimulus package for about 200,000 families to cushion the effects of coronavirus pandemic. Minister of Finance warns that Nigeria's economy may go into recession if coronavirus pandemic continues beyond 6 months. And the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson tests positive for coronavirus, even as Italy records over 900 deaths in a single day. As business and sports news from Abuja, the FCT, and later international news from our London studios. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. The Kogi State government in north-central Nigeria has ordered a total shutdown of all activities across the state in its bid to prevent the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. The deputy governor of the state, Mr. Edward Onitsha, announced the measure at a press conference held at the police headquarters in Lokoja, the state capital. He says security agencies have been mandated to enforce the stay-at-home directive of the government. The deputy governor, who's also chairman of the Kogi COVID-19 Squadron Committee, emphasized that only provision stores, sellers of foodstuff and pharmaceutical stores are allowed to operate.
We are advising everybody to stay at home. And in staying at home, we would also ensure that mobility, especially by tricycle, Okada riders, will be restricted effective from tomorrow, being Saturday, the 28th of March 2020.
And southeast, the governor of Anambra State, Mr. Willie Obiano, says he's going into self-isolation as an example that it is possible to stay indoors for some time. The governor, who was speaking from his Aguleri country home, explained that the total shutdown of all markets in the state, except for food and medicine businesses, is a measure taken to forestall the spread of the coronavirus in the state. He also outlined efforts by the state government to contain the spread of the pandemic, including establishing 3 isolation centers.
Because our market is the biggest in West Africa, and because all kinds of people come to this market, it portends danger if we do not do anything about that. So we have decided to close the market effective Monday, 31st of March, for 2 weeks only, during which time we are going to review how the market will operate after reopening, and we are going to take a few more steps in the market before the market people come back. I'm on self-isolation. I don't have COVID-19, but I decided to isolate myself for 14 days. Purely to show the Anambra that they can also sit back in their homes and don't go out. Nobody comes here, not even the cleaner comes in here. I clean this place myself, make my breakfast and what have you. So I'm on self-isolation for 14 days.
Up north in Katsina State, Governor Aminu Masari has also directed the closure of all borders with neighboring states, including Niger Republic. This is in continuation with the state government's efforts at containing this possible spread of the coronavirus pandemic in the state. To this effect, therefore, movement of people into the state is strictly prohibited with effect from 6 a.m. on Saturday, March 28th. However, fuel tankers and vehicles carrying food items and other essential commodities will be allowed into the state subject to their screening and test at the point of entry. A statement signed by the State Commissioner for Information, Culture and Home Affairs, Yahaya Sirika, says people are, however, at liberty to move within the state. In Niger State, the government has banned intra- and interstate movement of people and vehicles as part of measures to curtail the spread of the coronavirus. The Secretary to the state government, Ahmed Matani, who is chairman of the Niger State Task Force on COVID-19, confirms in a statement that the ban is with immediate effect and covers the entire state. While noting that there has not been any recorded case of COVID-19 in Niger State, the SSG explains that the state government is intensifying measures to safeguard the people. He, however, emphasized that those exempted from the order are vehicles conveying food, fuel, medicals, and essential services. Motorists and residents in the state are advised to abide by the directives and cooperate with relevant security agencies towards its enforcement. Time now to hand over to Maokwe Ogun Yusuf in Abuja.
Hello, Marachi. It's good to see you. We welcome our viewers to our studios in Abuja. Well, barely 24 hours after pledging 1 billion naira to the fight against the novel coronavirus in Nigeria, the chairman of BOA Group, Mr. Abdul Samad Rabiu, has redeemed his pledge. According to a statement by the company, the funds were transferred to the COVID-19 Relief Fund account domiciled in the Central Bank of Nigeria, while an additional donation of 300 million naira was also sent to Edo, Ogun and Sokoto states, where the company has its operations to support the efforts of those states in combating the pandemic. Mr. Rabiu confirms that medical and emergency kits and supplies, including face masks, testing kits and other personal protective gears, will be delivered soon. On Thursday, Mr. Rabiu announced the pledge of 1 billion naira and medical supplies to support Nigeria's efforts in the fight against COVID-19. The company listed Lagos, Kano, Adamawa, Edo, Kwara, Rivers, Abia, Akwa Ibom and Sokoto states as beneficiaries. And as he does that, as measures are ramped up in the fight against COVID-19, the president has applauded the public spiritedness of some wealthy Nigerians and organizations who are joining in the battle against the pandemic. In a statement, President Muhammadu Buhari praised members of the private sector coalition against COVID-19, made up of prominent industrialists and bankers, for contributing 1 billion naira each to the COVID-19 fund. They include the president of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, chairman of BOA Group, Abdulsamad Rabiu, businessman, Mr. Femi Otedola, chairman of Tony Elumelu Foundation, Mr. Tony Elumelu, MD of Access Bank, Herbert Wigwe, MD of GT Bank, Shegun Agbaje, and founder of Zenith Bank, Mr. Jim Ovia. The president also praised UBA for donating the sum of 5 billion naira to Nigeria and Africa, as well as former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who pledged 50 million naira. He also acknowledged First Bank, which is said to be partnering with the government, the United Nations, and innovative technological firms to provide e-learning solutions to at least 1 million children under its Keep Them Engaged, Keep Them Safe initiative. The president called on other high net worth Nigerians and organizations to do the same, expressing optimism that the country will overcome the challenges brought by the pandemic. Meanwhile, a $30 million intervention to combat COVID-19 has been put in place by the oil and gas industry in Nigeria, led by the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Mr. Mele Kyari. Under three thematic areas, the funding will cover medical consumables like testing kits, medical protective suits, face shields, and laboratory scientist kits. The second, which comes under logistics and inpatient support system, will cover retrofitted ambulances, ventilators, respirators, and oxygen supply facility. Medical infrastructure on its party will cover an auxiliary overflow hospital, makeshift intensive care facilities across the geopolitical zones, and state-of-the-art equipped diagnostic laboratory.
That intervention is primarily aimed at supporting the federal government's initiatives. Resources are lean, readiness are weak across the world and in every nation, and everybody must come on the table. And this is what we have done. What we have done as an industry is to make a collective contribution at the moment of $30 million, spread across businesses in the upstream, and additional material and cash donations from the downstream sector. These interventions will be integrated to the ongoing federal government initiative of bringing the impact of the COVID-19 within control and within the means of this country. We will particularly provide medical provisions. We deploy logistics and inpatient support systems, and also to deliver medical infrastructure which will, first of all, be useful today and in the long term to be useful to this country, because we know that situations like this, we don't hope it to happen, but it's something that can actually happen in reality. Therefore, we'll also provide logistics and infrastructure support which will be of use subsequently.